Once I think that I've identified what the real constraint is, I ask this one question that will eliminate any guesswork. I have started, built, grown, and exited multiple seven-figure companies, but I want to be clear about something right from the start. Building a seven-figure company and then running 9 different companies and their operations is a totally different game. Today, I am the CEO of Sandbox Resources and the operating partner for 9 different companies in our portfolio, which are doing about 8 figures, low 8 figures. And we set a very unreasonable goal by most standards, and that is to get to $100 million fast. And when you set a goal like that, it really forces you to think differently across your business in all areas, in leadership, in operations, in talent, in focus. So what I'm doing here is documenting what that actually looks like in real time, because it's totally different than whatever I've done before. So I'm not telling you things that are fluff. I'm not telling you things that I think will work. I'm literally telling you, here's what's working right now, here's what's not working, and showing you the real raw truth when the stakes are high. In my last video, I talked about why most founders feel stuck, and it's not because they're not cut out for business or that they're even bad at business. It's really because they're trying to fix everything at once and therefore fixing nothing. Every business has just one constraint, one bottleneck. And until you fix that one thing, all of the other things that you think are problems are really just noise. So today, what I want to do is take you through how I diagnose what that bottleneck is for each business. I truly believe that having clarity on what that bottleneck is and really being able to focus on that is probably the best skill that you can have as a founder. And I really want to say this before I go any further. Diagnosing a constraint in your business isn't really about being smart. It's really about being honest. Most founders don't lack intelligence. They're lacking signal, meaning they don't know exactly where to focus because everything else feels really loud. And when everything else is loud and everything feels urgent, nothing is really urgent. It's just noise. And noise makes everything feel important, but the constraint is what actually matters. Every business, no matter the size, is just a flow system. So leads turn into conversations, conversations turns into sales, sales turns into delivery, delivery turns into cash, and cash turns into reinvestment. A bottleneck is simply the place where something breaks down in that flow, and it's enough to actually make everything else in the business a lot harder. And this is where founders will diagnose incorrectly because they're doing it based off of a feeling, or they're feeling frustrated, or it's the loudest complaint that's happening. But high-level operators are diagnosing based on that flow. So they're looking at the flow and seeing what is broken from leads into conversations and conversations into sales and sales into delivery. Where are we getting stuck and what is not operating the way that it could or should be? So let's break this down step by step. And I will say that first, I never start with opinions. What you want to look at is the facts. Look at your pipeline. Every business has a pipeline, whether it's leads to conversations and those conversations into sales, or maybe it's straight to buying on a website. Whatever it is, there is a buyer's journey and you have that pipeline. So it's attention, conversation, decisions, delivery, and then of course, cash. No matter how complex your business is, it always boils down to that. So the first question I ask is simple, and it's where does momentum slow down the most? And I'm not talking about where people are complaining the loudest. I'm not even talking about things you might be embarrassed about. It's literally looking at the flow and saying, where does it drop? Because it's not about what is the loudest, that seems to be the problem. It usually isn't that. So once I know the pipeline, I'm not really listening for the noise or what's super loud to the founder. I'm actually looking for the biggest drop in momentum. So now this brings us to step 2, where we need to determine what is that biggest drop, not the loudest problem, not what's screaming at us, because this distinction is so important, and this is where founders get it wrong. For example, you might think you have a lead problem, But when you look deeper, you have plenty of leads. They just aren't being followed up fast enough. Or you think sales are the issue, but appointments aren't converting. The offer just isn't clear or positioned correctly. Or customers are unhappy, so you assume it's a people problem, but really your onboarding and fulfillment wasn't what was promised to them. Even if you fix the wrong drop really well, you still lose because everything downstream and upstream in the business will still remain strained. And this brings us to step 3, which is the 14-day test. And really what this is once I think that I've identified what the real constraint is, I ask this one question that will eliminate any guesswork. If I fix this one thing in the next 14 days, would revenue, cash, or stress improve right away? If the answer is yes, that's your bottleneck. If the answer is no, it's a distraction. Because if you fix the real bottleneck, you will feel immediate relief. This is the point where founders get clarity, but they also get discomfort because you still want to fix all of those different things, but now your attention is required to be somewhere else. Let's say sales are down. Everyone's stressed. The team is saying, we need more leads. What most founders do here is spend money on ads, or they hire a marketer or another marketer, or buy into some gimmick they heard online promising more leads. And then here's what happens. Leads do go up, but revenue doesn't. What's going on? I thought more leads meant more sales, right? Not necessarily, because the real problem wasn't leads. It was that one sales rep wasn't closing. It was that the offer wasn't clear enough, or it was that the price was too expensive for most people. What happens here is you just poured water into a leaky bucket. You thought that spending more on ads or hiring another marketer was actually going to fix the problem, but it didn't. But the thing is we mistake it for fixing the problem because as founders, we're like, well, we're doing something about it, right? So it creates this little temporary relief of anxiety, but then you find out a week or two later or a month later, you're putting your effort into the wrong place because nothing has been fixed at all. That's what fixing the wrong thing feels like. You work harder, you spend more money, you're putting out more energy, and you just feel stuck. Now let me show you what it looks like when you fix the right thing in the same scenario. Same thing, sales are down, everyone assumes it's a lead problem, but this time you diagnose. You map the pipeline, you look at the drop, and you realize appointments are happening, conversion from lead to appointment is strong, but closes are terrible. The actual bottleneck, close rate, is down. And you know this because you calculate a 10% increase in conversion from appointments to closed deals. And your revenue is right where it should be. You don't even need any more leads. In fact, without fixing that, you'd waste money on leads. So you look deeper at each person's close rate, and there it is. One rep is bringing the whole close rate down. You look into it and you see no sales process. Trying too hard to close, not listening to the customer and what they actually want or what they actually need. There's no structure, no clear close. So where does your time and energy go to now? And I'm talking 60 to 70% of your time. It goes to fixing this problem. You don't touch marketing, you don't hire, you don't rebrand, you spend 2 weeks, those 14 days, fixing sales. Now, here is where the domino effect comes in, because after 2 weeks, you increased your close rate up 10%. You did this by going all in on your current sales reps that are doing great, but that one closer who wasn't reaching target, you just increased that person's performance, and now the whole team is at a 10% higher close rate. And you did this by training them on presentations, you did this by increasing the value, teaching them how to handle objections. They're dialed, they know what to do, they know what wasn't working before, and they know what to do what is working. The team calms down and you stop firefighting every day. You didn't fix 5 problems, you fixed 1 problem and 5 more problems disappeared. From there, the next constraint will reveal itself. You just go through the pipeline again, because you're gonna see now, well, our sales percentage is doing really well. So what is the next constraint there? Is it fulfillment? Are customers complaining? Or maybe it is that we wanna reach that next revenue goal. Everything else looks pretty darn good. Now we can actually spend more money on leads because we've got the sales team to support that close rate. So this step 4, isn't about blame. It's about leverage. It's about asking yourself these questions. Where do decisions stop without you? Where does the team wait for your approval? Where does progress slow the moment you're unavailable? Founder dependency is almost always hiding in the bottleneck. This isn't because your team is not capable. It's because you never designed a system for the business to run without you. But if everything has to go through your brain, your calendar, your decision, then nothing is actually able to move forward. Everything will be strained, and that is not leadership. That's a constraint. So at this point, you've done the hard part. You've identified the real bottleneck. You've confirmed that it creates a domino effect, and you've clarified whether it lives in the business or with you. This is the part founders struggle with the most. So here's what I do here. Once the bottleneck is clear, I intentionally let other things stay broken. Yes, on purpose, because like I said earlier, fixing the constraint often fixes 5 other problems for free. If you clarify sales, morale improves. Fix delivery, and refunds and churn drop. Remove decision bottlenecks. Meetings disappear. Focus is not discipline. Focus is actually the strategy. And trying to fix everything at once is how businesses stay stuck for years. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, Summer, I understand this, but I feel like there's 5 different main bottlenecks. I get it. I understand. And it's because your business doesn't suddenly get super clear. But what does happen is your brain does. You're going from reacting to everything to actually training yourself to see flow. So if you're not 100% clear yet, follow this rule. Pick the constraint that, if improved in the next 14 days, would create the biggest immediate relief in revenue, cash, or stress. That's your starting point. You don't need perfect certainty. You need a clear first move. And the fact that you're even asking this question means that you're a founder who is leveling up. This is exactly why I said in the last video that fixing everything keeps founders stuck. Because once you know the constraint, you stop guessing. And when guessing stops, momentum comes back. And if this helped, don't forget to subscribe for more like this.